Welcome to another broadcast from GCS Inclusion. Today we're going to be talking to Naomi about how we can combat damaging assumptions on individuals that are being hired in underrepresented groups. So let's bring Naomi into the conversation. Good morning, Naomi.
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you? Can you
I'm
hear me
good.
okay?
I'm good. I'm excited for this, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
hear you
excited.
absolutely fine.
I'm excited to talk with you. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I think it's probably fair for you to do an introduction on why you're here to have a chat with us today, and then we can get into the conversation and hopefully educate a few people about certain things.
Sure. I was actually a very young manager in the tech world. I started my kind of management at 21.
Wow.
And I've found along the way, in the last 10 years, kind of ways to manage certain kinds of teams. And I was brought in, like I said, at 21. So then learning how to manage teams, especially of men and men who are 30 plus, was very difficult. Um, yeah, so I've learned to navigate that. So I've come here to talk about
Fantastic.
that.
That's brilliant. And I think it's such a great thing because typically with regards to, and I think that this would fit into ageism to some degree, but also about someone's skills, somebody's ability to enable them to do a job, and other people judging. And I think that when we're talking about ageism, a lot of people assume it's always about the more mature group rather than somebody that's in a younger category, but is still skilled to do the job. So do you want to talk us through some of your experience as a 21-year-old manager? That'd be a great place to start.
Sure. I was brought in to a very well-known company. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention them, but and I was brought into Disney, and I
Okay.
had the technical skills. It was Disney Cruise Line, and I was brought in at a manager level, which was show control. So, but at that, I had the technical skills, but I had only kind of supervised teams or been kind of a lead on teams on small departments. But then I was suddenly poised with this massive company, this massive team, and I went, okay. But when I was hired on the technical skills, not the managerial skills, and I failed at that job.
Oh,
I had a
really?
bad time. I really didn't enjoy it, and it was mainly down to the manager aspect of it. I didn't really know how to interact with these teams. When I joined, you join with like a group of people. And I had made friends with those people, and these people were my age. They were younger, so I hung out with them like after hours. And it was also learning kind of cruise ship life. That's its own kettle of fish. But yeah, like learning to work with a multicultural team, and a multicultural team that were all significantly older than I was. And also some of them really did feel that they were due the job that I had because they had put in the time and the effort and the work to be there. So there was like a standoff. But to Disney's credit, they put me through managerial courses and things like that. But once I left, I took a step back and I went, right, okay, I have the skills now. I have the technical skills now, but let's look at how I can play that into a managerial side. And I went down the route of, well, how about I show people what I can do so then I can prove myself, but then I can also teach and I can create young managers. So then when I stepped into my next managerial position with Norwegian Cruise Line, that's exactly what I did, and I've actually built several managers from that, who different ages, different races, different walks of life, and it was just from a sheer like kind of hands off going, I make mistakes, I am the manager, but why don't you come in and show me what you can do and what you're passionate about, and from a technical aspect that was really easy to show with like things like lighting and sound and stuff, because some people were one way orientated, and I was like, well, it doesn't need to be, you don't need to be just sound or just lighting. You can do a multitude of things.
Mm.
So that is kind of how I've grown as a manager. Is if I teach, then there's kind of a mutual respect there, and I allow someone to grow, and I allow them to build themselves up to a managerial position, and show that there is kind of a ladder, that there
Yeah.
is kind of there is a way up.
So a couple of things then. So first of all, with regards to the industry that you went into, not necessarily about the cruise line element, but the technicality sector of the role that you were put into. Can I ask typically what the demographic of the sexual orientation is within that as
Yeah,
well? Is it a male-dominated world, a
yeah.
female-dominated?
There was a running joke for several years that I was the only female technical manager, and
So
you know,
you
that
had
was
that to deal with, and
yeah,
also being young. And did you feel that you got the support from your employer with regards to all of that going on at the same time?
absolutely not. And that's
Right.
because they've ticked a box. They've said,
Yeah.
okay, we have this person who's technically able, tick. And that's where it is. It's not, they've not looked at the company as a whole. And I found this actually twice. I've come in and there's actually been people that have more technical ability than I have, but they're just stuck. They've went in at an intermediate level. Um, and they've not applied for that management position when they've joined the company.
Mm.
Um, but they're more than capable. But the company's not looked inward and went, okay, actually, this person could be good for this job. What they've done is they've just went, we need a new manager, and they've hired me in instead of going, oh, well, this person, they're fantastic. Let's use their skills and let's build them up as a manager. They know the company, they know the product, and they know what we're looking for. So there was a lot of that as well.
The recruitment process, and obviously I'm not going to assume for one thing that you know in the entire recruitment process because you were a young person going into an industry, etc., and proving yourself. But what's the recruitment process where they would typically look at internal applicants first? Or do you think that you were hired because you ticked, you were female, and secondly, that you were young? You ticked other boxes to create more of a diversity element.
So I think so. There's other work that I've done. Like I work for BBC Scotland, now on a
Mm,
freelance basis, but I worked for them full time for a while, and I feel like I was brought in specifically to interview, because I ticked those boxes, because I was
right.
female, because I am gay as well. Like I have a wife
Okay.
now, so a lot of these standard HR questionnaires that go out, that that you have to declare your sexual orientation, which it shouldn't really matter,
No.
um, but I do get brought in, and sometimes I get brought in, and I'm like, I applied for this on a whim, um, and then I got brought in for an interview. So yeah, I think there is a lot of that. There is this girl, like, look at her, look at all this experience, that's fantastic. Let's have a look. Let's see what she's about. Whereas with a guy, I do see, and I do hire people as well. Like I do scrutinize. I usually, if I see a female applicant, especially in the tech world, um, I will look at their CV and just actually look at what they've done. Whereas with a
Yeah.
guy, I go, cool, 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 cool. I don't look at the HR questions. I don't look at their race. I don't look at their sexual orientation. I just go, guy, cool. What have they got? With a girl, I look at everything, and
Yeah.
that is because it is the ratio is quite ridiculous. It's for one woman, there's 12 men, and there's something like 18% of women STEM. So that's ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I totally
Um,
agree with you. And I think that, this is something that comes up in every conversation that we have on these, is that we we as a race are very much conditioning people to fit into boxes before they're even born. And
yeah.
I know that probably the audience are going to think, oh my God, he's on his soapbox again. But, it even comes down to things like the gender reveal parties, and selecting colors for different things. And I'm not saying that that's damaging or it should be taken away. But again, it's about conditioning. And you've obviously been in a situation where you've been conditioned into certain boxes and it's then backfired onto you. And it could have a real detrimental effect on confidence and ability, but also mental
Definitely.
health. Did you have
I
any experiences like that yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, I have been very lucky. I've gotten to where I am because there have been, and it's always been men. There's been men that have went, she can do it. Like, so what? Like, I don't care who she loves, who she doesn't love. I don't care that she's female. There have been a lot of men that have built me up in this career, like a lot. But there's been so many nights where I've, kind of cried myself to sleep because I went in and they've just went, well, she can't lift that. She's 5'4". She can't put that up there. And it is, they look at me and they go, what does she know? And I feel like I personally have to work twice as hard to prove myself. And there are people who just, they look me up and down and they go, no. And they'll talk to, like, I've went on many jobs where I've come with 2 assistants and they're both men. They're both big hulking men. And here I am, 5'4". I go to shake the person's hand and they look over me and they start talking to the guys behind me. And there was a few instances where, the guys behind me have said, talk to her, like we don't know what we're
Yeah.
doing. We're just here to lift and shift. So there is a lot of it, and there is a lot of, in this industry, as soon as you see a female in the tech box, everyone goes, well done. Good job.
Yeah,
You did it.
absolutely.
These are women.
And do you think that we should have those boxes removed
I
on
think so.
applications?
I
Yeah.
think so. And I've actually started, it's very in the infant state, a company, a hiring company, where they're looking for tech people in the entertainment industry, broadcasting, TV, film. And they come to my company and then they say, okay, I need a vision engineer. And I go, okay, cool, here's the skills. Do you need someone that has football like experience? And they go, yeah. There's 3 people, not 3 women, not 3 men, not 3 black people, white people. It's just 3 people who has the experience that they're looking for.
We've got a great question actually come in from somebody in the audience asking you, Naomi, how you feel about recruitment practices aimed at balancing the gender ratio within media production or STEM.
I think that is damaging. I personally think that is damaging. Being a woman, like I love it. I've worked on so many things, especially with BBC Scotland. I've worked on so many things where it's like, look at this all-female team, and then it's a big thing. Then they make a thing of it. But in terms of specifically balancing, it then devalues the skill of the women that are brought in, because it's like, oh well, you're just here because you ticked a box, and then then they go off into guys' corner or they go out to the smoking area, and it is damaging. I don't personally agree with it. I think it should just be higher on like CVs, and I don't think there should be the who are you? Like I don't see why that's necessary. Why do you
No, I
need to know
agree.
that I'm female? Or people who are non-binary as well. Like why do they have to tick a box? Why do they have
Yeah.
to say that they're male or female? It comes down to the whole kind of the way the world's moving as well. But that's a really good question.
I think it's a
About
great
the
question.
fact,
Thank you,
yeah.
whoever sent that in. Yeah, thank you.
Um,
Because, yeah,
I personally don't think it's. I think it's more at the detriment of the person who gets the job.
yeah,
Um, and I think also opening the floor inside a company to say, what do we need? What, especially in media, going, okay, do we need a vision engineer? Do we need an engineering manager? Do we need someone who does EVS, which is the live replays? And just going, do we need this to the team? And if they go, do you know what? No, because this person's been training on it. How about we give them a shot? And I think, again, it takes away that girl that was doing it, that guy that was doing it, he's probably better doing it. And I think once you start asking within the company, then when they go, okay, well, we've hired this new person to do that role, because the company will go, actually, we could use some help. We do need an extra gaffer. So then when that gaffer comes in, regardless of who they are or what they look like, then there's a bit more stability there, instead of just going, we've got this new person, they ticked a box.
yeah,
Do you know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Can I get you to cast your mind back to your education days? And if you think about the career reviews that we all had to do in, when we were studying our GCSEs or whatever it was, etc. The industry that you then worked yourself into, was that ever promoted to you as a female by a career advisor?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Um, I went to a very public school in Dundee in Scotland. So, and it had just merged with another public school. So at that point, it was crowd control. Um, if you had any career aspirations that weren't doctor, lawyer, or kind of any kind of high flying, kind of high paying job like business owner, if that wasn't your 3 career options, then you kind of just went, oh well, they'll just wayside. I actually went into it wanting to be an actor. I was like,
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to act. I'm really good at it. And it was obviously didn't work out. But what actually, the thing that actually came my way was Dundee Rep did an enterprise at the Rep. And it was the most wonderful thing because it's what's moved me on. And it was actually my high school drama teacher. She threw down the lighting manual in front of me and went, you can do this. Because at the same time I was doing technical studies.
Right.
So I was the only person, male or female, in that class that had any kind of technical know-how. And then Dundee Rep had this enterprise at the Rep, and I was like, I want to do this. So I applied for an actor position, and I applied for a stage management position, and they went, you'd be better in lighting. So I went and did lighting, and then they asked me back the next year. So I went back the next year, and then I stayed that summer, and the entire summer I cleaned lights, and they brought me on. They brought me on as one of the lighting assistants, and from there it just grew, and I was like, well, I'm really good at this. So had it not been for an outside source, I would probably still be stuck in Dundee doing retail or
Yeah.
something, working in a
Yeah.
care home or something, because that's predominantly what the people in my school do, and that is the failure of the education system. That is not their fault.
No,
They were
agreed.
failed because it was crowd
Yeah.
control.
And I think it's very hard. And, you know, I don't want to throw all the blame down to sort of like career advisors or the educational sector, because I think we all, as individuals, have a part to play in this. But, you know, it's very hard for a career advisor, I think, to have all of the wonderful careers laid out and try and put people into different directions. But I do think there's more that they can do. What are your thoughts with regards to what people can do in those situations where they can influence individuals into different careers?
I think having like people come out. My wife owns a stage school, and I come out occasionally and I talk to the kids about technical things, because some of these kids, they're just creative. They might not want to perform, but they're just creative, and they need an outlet for it.
Yeah.
So someone like me coming in and going, well, there's a whole wide world of creativity you can have. You can design, you can direct, you can be creative in different kinds of ways. So I think bringing out STEM people, like people who talk about STEM, and just opening it up to schools across the country, UK wide, I think that's just a wonderful way, because there's so many things, especially with streaming now. I think, yeah, I think just bringing STEM into schools is just a really, really good start.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that it's about that awareness, but also about the engagement on typically what motivates somebody. And I don't recall when I sat down for those career advice conversations that the industry that I'm in and also specialize in was ever even mentioned. And my industry, I wouldn't necessarily say fits one in agenda or another, but it's just, I think, the lack of awareness and lack of engagement to listen to what someone's motivators are for their careers. If you could go back to younger you, advice would you give to yourself?
I'd say believe in your technical ability, because that's the one thing. People can come at me and be like, oh, well, you're this, that, and the next thing. And I've learned now that regardless of what they say, I'm very comfortable in my technical ability. I'm good at what I do. I'm very, very good at what I do. And knowing that, I'm also willing to learn and teach myself new things and be taught by other people, by peers. As soon as I opened myself up to that, then that was perfect. So I would say to myself, just believe in your technical ability, and that'll just, kind of guide you through.
Fantastic, brilliant advice. And I'm just poking the bear a little bit here because I like to get a little thought process. Out of the minority groups that you fit into, because there's a few,
Yeah.
okay, what's been the biggest one that you've been judged against?
It's the female.
Just the female aspect.
Definitely. I actually feel it's my advantage being a gay woman, because then I can talk with the lads. Um, so without that, like, if I come in as a female and then they're going, oh, this girl, she's coming in. But as soon as I rock up and I'm like, sup, and kind of more masculine aspects of myself, then it's a bonus. It's an added extra. And then suddenly the atmosphere drops a little bit and everyone's just a bit more comfortable. So definitely just having the female tag in a technical world, that's still the thing that's stuck.
Yeah. And what can leaders do to combat that way of thinking? What's your advice to anybody that is a hiring manager or looking to grow a STEM business?
Talk to the team. Talk to your team and see what you want. Look inwards first. And I'm a freelancer. I want to get hired by everybody, but look at your team first, because I don't want to come into a team, and I have done. I don't want to come into a team where there's people being poo-pooed because they're just being overlooked, and they've put in the time, the effort, they've developed things within the company to help that company grow, and they're not being seen or heard. But ask your team, just be like, do you guys want help? Do you want another manager in? Do you want another technical person in? As soon as that happens, I think then the stigma leaves, because then the person that's hired is hired for the better of the team. It's not hired because there's a vacancy.
No, agreed. Agreed. Naomi, thank you so much. And
So much.
if anybody's looking for advice or would like to talk to Naomi further about her experiences, etc., I'm assuming, Naomi, you're quite comfortable with people reaching out to you on
Absolutely,
LinkedIn.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think you'd make a great mentor, and you probably already do an element of that already with regards to your own experiences. So, audience, please, if you want to find out more, speak to Naomi direct or contact us, and we'll put you in touch with Naomi. But Naomi, thank you for your time today. Great
Thanks
to
so
hear about
much.
you.
It's been great.
Take care. Bye-bye.